Hey guys, this is Polar and I am back doing an update for the Bushwacker level, and good news is that the Bushwacker series with the approval of David is now going to be public, so all of you guys get to see what I've been working on to help promote the game. So anyway, what we're going to do this time is we're going to be talking about decals. And for those who don't know what decals are for Cryengine 3, they're basically like a two-dimensional polygon that you can place throughout the level that really helps add detail to the level. You can make things like posters, mud puddles, just various things you can use it for, and it's really good on performance. So basically, however you start, you gotta remember that if you're gonna use the Crytif plugins and stuff, you're gonna wind up in Photoshop at the end, no matter however you start it. There's different ways you can start it. For example, here we're starting it in Adobe Illustrator, and we're just doing a real basic design for this kind of like propaganda poster, and it's real basic at this point as you're looking at the video. But if you watch that movie Prometheus, I think David says something along the lines, big things have small beginnings, so we have to kind of keep that in mind. So as we're working with Adobe Illustrator, we are kind of fleshing out the design for this propaganda poster that we'll be making, and once we get to the end of it, this poster is going to be kind of tattered and torn. It's going to have holes in it so you can see through it, and we're going to add some effects to it to make it look kind of cool. But just keep in mind, it's also going to be just a small two-dimensional image. It's going to be really awesome on performance, and it'll help add some uniqueness to the game and the level itself. Ultimately, there was different ways I tried to do this logo. I actually tried to do some of the font work in Adobe Illustrator, but I found out that it was probably better just to wind up making a real base image in this Illustrator. Just doing it's gonna be a real basic like logo, and moving it over to Photoshop. And then from there on, we're going to be adding a basic phrase. We're going to detail that phrase. We're going to make out the base of the actual poster itself, because we want to make the poster as it would be if it was brand spanking new before we destroy it. And basically I was thinking of what would be kind of a cool logo for this game, since it's kind of about world domination. This guy's kind of how can you say, he's kind of like an egomaniac, but for the world's future. I'm sure in his mind that he's doing it for the benefit of not only himself but for all of mankind, and he knows what's right and everyone else is wrong, that kind of thing. So as we move on, we're going to start seeing how we're going to add wear and tear to this poster. And you want to keep in mind, this mostly I've moved out of Illustrator at this point, moved into Photoshop. I applied a layer over what would be the brand spanking new poster to give it a look of kind of wear and tear. As I said before, I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? And just tweaking it up a bit using the smudge tool, things like that. Also using the burn tool as well when I make my own custom holes to give it that sense of age, that that poster's been there a while, or it's maybe not been there a while but it's taken some damage. And I think the outcome is looking pretty cool. Basically we'll use the various tools in Photoshop, like the burn tool, background eraser, smudge tool, things of that, like I said, to give it the effect that this propaganda poster, has taken some damage from the elements such as rain that's kind of made the ink run on the paper somewhat. Not to mention it's kind of getting torn at the end from who knows what. Maybe a bullet hole, maybe just been out in the sun too long, maybe numerous things. And we're just gonna kind of add that all to this level, and very shortly we should see something of a final result of the level. Basically around, like if you make a new hole with the background eraser, I usually use like the burn tool to kind of darken up around the holes to give it that effect. Maybe it's like a cigarette burn or however you want to call it. But yeah, I think the actual poster, from the beginning to end, looked pretty decent, at least in my opinion. And now the next thing we're going to want to create is kind of an alpha map for this. And the reason we want to create an alpha map is because, like I said, we're going to be having holes and stuff in the poster itself. And the way Cryengine, like many other game engines out there, it only sees transparency through the alpha map. And even though, like you see in the Photoshop, you're saying, well, there's no background in the image right now, but it's just how that engines, most of the game engines are set up. You need an alpha map set up in your image to tell CryEngine, or even if you're working on UDK, saying, hey, look, these parts are going to be transparent, but I want these parts to be shown. So you always want to create an alpha map. If I mean, you know what, you should really try to create an alpha map for anything like this, anything for like decals, chain link fences, even like leaves for trees, all have alpha maps, and that's something you should really consider doing. And then from there, you know, we can start to export it over into CryEngine, and CryEngine uses its own formats. It's a TIFF format, but you would want to use the CryTIFF exporter for Photoshop. And the reason I say that is because it will make things so much easier using these simple plugins as opposed to trying to do it manually. You can do it without, but it's just so much work, man. You really want to use these plugins and such. So anyway, basically you want to make we're working on here is basically a 1024 by 1024. Even though the image itself looks, you know, it's going to be kind of like a rectangle shape, you know, we're still, you got to keep the image ratios pretty much the same, like 1024, 512, things of that nature. So there's different ways you can save it as well, with the CryTIFF exporter plugin for Photoshop. You can see how it's set up for instance, like if you want to export the map for, say, you're working for a game for PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, it tells you proper dimensions for that as well. Right now we're just focused on the PC versions because this game project is right now just for PC, and we're just gonna be saving it. And I'm real sorry if I sound like I'm kind of rambling on, because I am trying to keep pace with the video as much as I can. Right now we're moving on, and what we're going to try to do is make a normal map for this decal as well. And for those who don't know what a normal map is, that's basically a map that sits on top of your diffuse map, which is your map of all colors, and helps make the image look sort of like it has some dimensions to it, where in actuality it doesn't. It really just affects the lighting for your 3D environments, and at the same time it really helps save a lot of performance. Like, you could really detail every little curve and wrinkle and everything else, but if that was actual 3D geometry, man, that would really impact your performance on your game or whatever animation you would be doing. It would take forever for that thing to get finished. No joke. And of course, there are several different tools how you can create a normal map. Sorry, I had to spit that out. Like right now, I'm using xNormal. It's still in the, from what I understand, it's kind of still free. It's still in the beta stage. You can use something like Crazy Bump, which does charge, I think, about $100, $200. There's some other software out there that can do the same thing. And now we are finally getting that game, that poster, that the finished decal into the game, and give you an example of what it looks like. So I hope you guys dug it. Hope to see you again real soon, and see you for the next video.